Chai FM, 101.9 megahertz of life.
Professor Bill Kolbrener, very, very good morning to you. I'm a little nervous to ask our guests because we had an Israeli professor talking about Iran earlier, and I asked him what iconic TV shows he would watch and enjoy as a youth, and he said, I don't know. So I said, well, you must have had a youth. He says, no. I said, right, let's talk about Iran. And we wonder why Israel is losing the PR war. Anyway, a very good morning. I hope you are well.
Good morning, Howard. You know, my agent didn't tell me that you're asking the hard questions.
You're like really, really tough, putting people on the spot. What did you watch as a youth?
Howard, I have a feeling that I'm a little older than most of your audience. It was ABC's in America, their fabulous Friday night lineup, which was the Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family.
So those are very American. I don't think I think we missed the Brady Bunch here because TV only came to South Africa in the mid-70s or mid to late 70s.
Right, I understand, and I hope I don't want to offend you or your audience, but I was in South Africa for 10 days. It was amazing.
I remember.
I did have the feeling that it was like a 10-year gap between America and South Africa in terms of popular culture and the way it went over.
Yeah, I think even more, but yes.
So I'm kind of dating myself. Those are really kids' shows. I mean, you guys are more sophisticated. You were watching like Cheers and stuff like that, people at bars. I was watching, the ideal family I wanted us to be. The Brady Bunch, of course,
Yes.
The ideal broken family that somehow came together and had family meetings. And my children can actually testify that I have called family meetings. They don't know that I'm quoting Mike in the Brady Bunch, but that's what I'm doing. And
that became that did become part of popular culture because that's exactly what happened. Yeah, so let's talk about how things change. And I wanted to chat to you about reading, about digital reading. I love books and I love physical books. I also, like you, am Shabbat observant, which means a day that we get more time to read means we need to read on a piece of paper. But I've still found it quite difficult to move across to digital. I do have a Kindle, which I take on holidays mainly with me because I'm scared I'm going to run out of books. But I still move towards a book rather than a tablet. What is happening out there in terms of reading?
Well, Howard, you may know that today is International Day of the Paperback, which was itself a revolution in technology. Mm-hmm. Alan Lane, who is the father of Penguin Books, found himself at a train station in 1935 and he had nothing to read. And he wanted to buy a book. So he started Penguin Books. They published first, Howard, 10 books, one by Agatha Christie, Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. In 10 months, they had sold over 1 million books. And it just tells you really that the changing in technology also reflects and creates a change in readership. And I think, with digital books, I think the Shabbat issue for people who are Shabbat observant, where you can't turn on your Kindle, I mean, that's where I do the most of my reading. So, I am an English professor by profession. My students don't bring books to class anymore. But I do know that when they're home reading, they read with books. They prefer books, I think. Although I think that's changing as well. I don't know.
But I wonder if that, though, is not a realistic sample of people, because those are you are talking to and you're teaching people who have a love for literature. They're pursuing it at a higher level.
Yeah. Well, right. And I think the digital revolution tells us something about reading, and we've become much less, not you and me or others you're referring to, but we've become consumers and not readers so much. And as consumers, we're really data points as well. And, Kindle and Amazon and Google, everybody knows exactly what we read last and they know what we're going to read next. So we're very much part of a marketplace of a circulation of digital text. You can see behind me, Howard. I know we're on the radio. My bookcase. Do people have digital bookcases? How do you show off the things that you're reading if you only have your Kindle? You have to tell people.
Yeah, and how do you page back to find something that just resonated for you, that you want to reread? It's fascinating because I do wonder how it works, and it's. Do you think there will always? I mean, are we going to be the last generation of book readers, and or do books endure?
T.S. Eliot, when he talks about the poet, speaks about amalgamating disparate experience, taking different experiences and putting them together. And he mentions reading Spinoza, the smell of coffee, and the sound of a typewriter. All of those three things. And the Spinoza goes with the sound and the physical and the visceral. There's something about reading, I think, which what you're saying is embodied. We feel it when we read. And I hope we're not the last readers, because if we're the last readers of books, in a way, we're the last kinds of readers that make that connection really not only intellectual, cognitive, but physical as well. And that's what Eliot is getting to. He's saying, when you're reading, it's not just your brain going off, it's your whole body. And maybe we're losing that.
As an English professor, though, it must make life a lot easier in some ways. I mean, I remember when I was at university studying English literature, when we had an assignment of some sort, there'd be a mad rush. Yeah, okay, there weren't that many of us. It wasn't such a mad rush. But down to the library to reserve the limited number of reference books that they had on a particular subject by a particular academic, because they simply weren't there. They could never have enough for everybody. So today, surely that no longer is an issue for anybody.
There are, however, other pedagogical challenges, Howard. If you had a screen when you were in class, would you have paid attention exclusively to the lecturer?
No.
I would have watched every day baseball game there was. I mean, so our students are really we are competing with an infinite source of entertainment and information. So yes, they don't have to fight for the last copy of Hamlet, but you got to get their attention. That's what we're working on, Howard, keeping people's attention.
That's so interesting, because I imagine that everybody comes to class with a tablet or a computer ostensibly to take notes, which means you never know what they're really looking at.
You're right. And just like some people are trying to limit AI, I had colleagues in the past who would say, I have no computer days. I've had it in my seminar, in my John Milton seminar. I do have, go to the library, get a book, no screens, we're reading.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm just thinking of my Paradise Lost tutorials and being absolutely enthralled by what we were reading in class, and of course there was nothing to distract us. It was, and it's so engraved in my memory and soul. It's incredible.
It's great, Howard. We could do a show together all the time. Two nerds talking about Paradise
It's so true.
I'm sure your listeners are just
thinking, oh gosh, this is, and if my kids are listening, they're thinking, oh gosh, this is mortifying. This is mortifying. In fact, so what we're going to do is we have to leave it there and go straight to sport, because that'll balance us out quite well. Professor Bill Kolbrener, thank you as always. Love these conversations.